So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's Accounting Alchemy Network Lyceum. I'm very excited to have a special guest with us today, Derek Tennant. He's a seasoned enroll agent who runs a virtual tax practice called Esoterax, and he helps individuals, businesses, and nonprofits through the U.S. tax system. And his work is rooted in something deeper. However, it's a lifelong devotion to taking care of one another. And so much so that he actually runs his entire tax practice based on gift economy principles, which is what we're going to be talking about today. We're really excited. And before we dive into our chat with Derek, I just wanted to do a little introduction on me, my colleague Cass, and the Accounting Alchemy Network, in case this is your first time joining us or watching a Lyceum like this. Well, hello, my name's Alina Nikishina, and with me I have Cassie Boise, and we're both active leaders in the Accounting Alchemy Network. And the Accounting Alchemy Network is a grassroots movement where we are working to turn the accounting profession into a vehicle for positive change in the world. We're shifting away from just accounting for things that impact our profits and our money to really focusing on how we can account for things that we want to be accountable to in our lives. And basically, how accounting professionals can be a big part in creating the change that we want to see in the world. So, in order to support our community members with this venture, this journey, we bring in paradigm shifting perspectives from professionals and business owners that inspire us to do things differently. And with that, I welcome Derek. Hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And so we're curious to get started for people who may not know what, gift economy is or how one would run a business on gift economy principles. Like, what does it actually mean to operate a tax practice based on gift economy principles?
This is for me the best part of every conversation when I meet a new potential client and talk about my work and how I can help them. And so I'm going to give you the same routine explanation that I do with them. And this is my own business. I can do it any way I want. And this comes from a deep spiritual place inside of me where I feel like we are all connected. And I feel like this economy and this culture has traumatized us all, clearly some more than others. I get that. But we all bear scars from this idea of scarcity. We don't have enough. And because of scarcity, we have to fight other people to get what we need. And I don't feel like we evolved this way as humans. I feel like we evolved with a sense of abundance, not scarcity. And I don't mean a cornucopia. I mean a deep grasp of what is enough and only taking what we need. And if anyone in the tribe was hungry, we were all hungry. If anyone was full, we were all full. And because of this sense of abundance and enough, we took care of each other. And so we didn't live in scarcity and competition. We lived in abundance and caregiving. And it boggles my mind that even in this culture today, we're born and we need to be taken care of for a couple of decades. We get sick and need to be taken care of. We get old and need to be taken care of. And yet, the even though we spend such a large portion of our lives needing people to be generous with us and take care of us, we're still put in this situation where we're supposed to take care of ourselves. And I've been generous with a lot of people in my life. And I've always had what I needed, not necessarily what I wanted, but I've always had enough. But what usually came into my life to see that I had enough doesn't usually come back to me from the people I'm generous with in the first place. And so that's what lets me let go of this transactional model that says I do a tax return for you and this is what you owe me. Now, it doesn't mean that what I do is free. It means that I ask you pay attention to the value I provide and your ability to reciprocate with a gift, because that's going to be different for every person, and that you do that. But I'm probably the only person in the country today that says I will continue to work with you as long as you'll have me. I'll do the best job I possibly can, even if nothing comes back to me, because I trust you have integrity and you're going to do something with my gift. And if that means helping a neighbor pay rent because they were sick this month, if it means donating to a charity, if you're a healer and you work with someone who can't afford you and you spend 10 seconds saying, this is a gift, don't let it stop with you, find a way to pay it forward. That's really what I'm looking for. That's what I mean by the gift economy, is we're just gifting our services, our gifts, our talents to other people and not expecting something in particular in return. And as we do this generous caregiving work and as we help to heal people even a little bit from these scars of scarcity, that's the goal here. And circling back to where I started, because you do your healing work and caregiving work, we're all better off because we're all.
Thank you. Yes.
So
Um,
that's really the gist of it. I mean, everything else flows from that.
cool, cool. Cass, do you want to ask our next question or something from?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a really beautiful explanation. I'm such a big fan of gift economies, and I love the way that you just went into that and expressed that. And I guess I wanted there was one part in there that I kind of want to just like open up more.
Yeah,
Um, and really looking at how, okay, so we have this idea of scarcity and kind of maybe diving into a little bit of where that comes from, especially in our transactional, like dollar money based world. And then also really diving into like how gift economies provide more more abundance.
sure. So this whole idea of scarcity. So let me also back up and say, yes, as was mentioned in the introduction, I'm an enrolled agent. This is the end of my 26th year doing taxes. I've done over 10,000 tax returns, two-thirds of those for families and individuals, one-third for just about anything else you can think of, including the fact that I'm currently living in San Jose, California. For the first 20 years, I was working for a large company in Cupertino, California, literally half a mile from Apple World headquarters, heart of Silicon Valley. So got to do lots of high income, high net worth taxpayers and all kinds of businesses and gift tax returns and trust returns, U.S. citizens overseas, first time filers on a work visa, the whole bit you would expect from something like Silicon Valley. And I was constantly being amazed at a couple of things when I was doing these types of tax returns at that point. First of all, the higher the income, the fewer donations, and so that was very striking to me. When I would do a tax return for somebody making $30,000 and they were contributing 1,000 to a charity, that's a huge bit compared to somebody making 300,000 and contributing nothing. Okay, and so, but the follow on to that is as people were getting richer and richer and richer, I would ask them, what is the goal? What is enough? How much money do when are you going to hang up and start doing what you love to do rather than do this job for this money? And it was never enough. It was like, okay, my goal is to have 5 million ready for my retirement. Will we get to 5 million? No, my goal's changed. Now it's 10 million. And so it was never enough, never enough. I remember one couple came in, they usually were making around $1 million a year between the two of them. And they came in one year. I said, how was last year? They said, oh, it was awful. She didn't work for 2 months. And we couldn't send the kids to the summer vacation camp. Okay. So they had budgeted and were using all of the money they had available to them with little thought of the future. And so, to me, that's the scarcity mindset is there's not enough. I have to keep working. I will never have enough. It'll never be okay. When in reality, money doesn't make you happy. You need a minimum, you need some amount of care being given to you or money to buy that care in some way, shape, or form. But it's not the money that's making you happy. It's the relationships that you build. I often talk a lot about phantom wealth, the dollars, the stocks, all of that is phantom. None of that is real. It can disappear. It's smoke and mirrors. Okay. But the real wealth that we should be trying to build is healthy relationships, healthy communities, and healthy nature. That's the real wealth. And so that's where I see this gift economy coming into play, is how do we build a healthy relationship? We don't build that with money. We don't buy somebody's service. We create the situation and the ideals where we take care of each other. And that builds healthy community. That keeps maintaining and strengthening healthy relationships. And we need healthy nature in order to be healthy ourselves. To have physical health, we need nature to be healthy too. And so if we can just lean on those three things and say, is what I'm doing today building either a healthy relationship, a healthy community, or healthy nature, that's the kind of thing we should be doing. And that doesn't involve money, at least in my world. You did ask
Yeah.
a second question, and I don't remember what the
Yeah.
second part was.
Well, yeah, and I'm also curious too on the scarcity piece, if like because our money is a debt-based currency, if that frequency is just like embedded in there. So the more that we play with it, the more that, we start to like adopt almost that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But my second question was really going in on the gift economy piece and how it like provides more abundance, because you get stuff, or there's more options for energy to flow. And that's really inspiring to me. Um, and I think there's a lot in there, and it would allow people to trust gift economies more, um, diving
So
into this concept.
yeah, and at the very basic fundamental level, this is how it has played out for me, and this is how I think of it. As I give of my energy, whether that's my gift, my talent, my resources, as I give any of that to someone else or to a community, that leaves space in me. And nature abhors a vacuum. And so nature will come back and refill my resources, my energy, to make sure I can do that again. And so, and in my experience, so I left the big company in 2019, and I've been on my own doing this model. I did this model from day one. In 2020 was the first year I was actually doing tax returns for the prior year. And I've been abundantly taken care of, but not necessarily. I wouldn't pin that on the tax work itself. I'm not getting. I get something back from maybe 60% of the people I work with. So it's certainly not 100%, not even close to 100%. I get something back from maybe 60. Now, some people give more than I would have asked for, even if I had a price list. Some people give what they can. And to me, that's even more golden. When I get what people can afford, that's much more meaningful to me, than a lot of numbers in on the check or a lot of numbers in the bank account. And I lost my train of thought there. So, oh yes, that I've been so well taken care of, but it's come from other places. It's come from sources I would never have thought of, dreamed of, asked for, anything like that. Just suddenly somebody calls me with an offer. Hey, can you do this? And I'll give you this. And so I've been so well taken care of, because again, I think nature, just the universe wants this to happen. It's going to support us, all of us, as we take care of each other. It's gonna replace anything we give away abundantly. That's the abundance piece. The energy's out there. It can flow to me, and as I give of myself, what I get back is sufficient.
Yeah, I love that. And I also like, I guess I get this really cool picture of gift economies compared to like maybe transactional economies where only energy can flow between two people. And so if the other person doesn't have what you need or want, then the energy can't flow. But in a gift economy, it still can, even if there might not be anything to come back on the other side
Between
from
those
that.
two people, but it'll come from somewhere else.
Exactly. And so it still facilitates like things can move. I feel like, and it can be less stagnant in a gift economy compared to a transactional economy. And to me, that just like, I don't know, I get a lot of mental pictures, and there's a lot of abundance in that.
But we tend to think of this in terms of just the relationship, like I do this for you, and this is our relationship, and it has to flow back and forth. And what I'm trying to also tease out is there's a community relationship, right? Think of, the myth or the stories we hear about the Amish communities where somebody has a fire, burns down their house, and within 3 days, the house has been rebuilt because the community comes together and brings in the resources, brings in the labor, puts it all together. We're back to normal. That care has been given from the community, not from the individuals that are doing the relationship. And so I think that's a huge piece of this too, is you're by participating in the community will participate back. If you help care for the community will care for you. This points to the retirement piece. Like, how are you going to save for retirement? Well, so the inspiration for me to do the gift economy came from when I read the book Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein. And just a little side note, I know him, I've talked with him, I've met him several times. And in that book, Sacred Economics, he wrote a sentence that just stuck with me, and it still sticks with me today. The best place to store my excess meat is in the belly of my brother. And if you take that kind of attitude, like every male in the tribe is a hunter, but not every hunter brings back food that day. There may be one or two, and they share with the community. And then when they don't come back with meat, somebody else does, and they share with the community. This is the community taking care of each other, not keeping track, not keeping score. Just I have, you need, let's work it out.
That was going to be our next question, was what inspired you? And I think that
Okay.
Sacred Economics book is, I found that book when I really needed it. And that's an amazing, amazing book. And I think he's one of the most brilliant modern day philosophers, especially on economic, with and also coming from a heart, with a heart-based lens.
Heart-based. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm also wondering, like, what actually, Alina, do you want to
Oh, sure.
jump in next?
Yeah, maybe put a pin in your question too. I mean, you kind of mentioned a couple things that we were going to ask. You were saying that you started doing things in your practice since day one in this way, right? So it wasn't really a progression. And back when we talked the first time, just to meet you, you were saying that you talked to someone before jumping into this and how it really helped. And I guess my question is like, what were some of your concerns or hesitations or doubts, or like what did you talk to, or what did you talk about with that person, if you're willing to share?
So there in 2019, the big company hosed me on my compensation, and not just me. They hosed just about everybody. But mine was so egregious. I walked out the door of that office the last time I was there, and made a commitment that I would not come back. And I didn't know what that would look like. And that was in May. And come September, October, I was still, I was committed, but not sure how this was going to work. And then, long story short, I saw a podcast that Charles had done interviewing someone, and they mentioned that they were studying to become an enrolled agent because in their work, they needed an enrolled agent type of person, an enrolled agent to be able to help in particular situations with their clients. And I stopped the podcast right there, looked up the company name. They had a contact me form. I sent a contact saying, I'm an enroll agent. I'd love to help. And I was thinking, this might just be a way to get away from the big company. And within 5 minutes, I had a phone call from the guy who was on the podcast being interviewed. And every night for 2 weeks, we spent at least 2 hours, he and I, on the phone, talking about how I would be able to help as an enrolled agent. And then this was a chance for me to talk about this gift economy that I had read about in Charles' book in Sacred Economics, and try to flesh that out. What is that actually going to look like? And so it was those conversations that I had with this person who helped me to literally get the courage. I mean, it was that situation where you're like, I'm giving up this much money. How do I survive? Right? How do I make this work? And the bottom line at the end of the conversations, at the end of the day, it was just, I'm gonna jump off the cliff. I'm gonna trust that there's a trampoline at the bottom. I just have to do this. I'm called to do this. I really felt a calling to just take a chance, and it worked out. I'm so grateful it did. But it was just a moment where you have a fork in the road. Do you go back to working as an employee somewhere, or do you take a chance and do this on your own? And in my opinion, for me, I made the right choice. I wish I would have done this a long time ago. But having said that, it was fraught with danger, right? I mean, what if nobody gives you any money? How are you going to survive? You're going to do all this work for nothing. That's a big hurdle to get over. But yeah, having these conversations gave me the courage to be able to take that chance.
Mm. Yeah, that was a big thing on our list, is like one major thing that most professionals might hesitate on is like, can I actually survive while offering this? How am I going to pay my bills when 99% of the things that I need to pay for don't take gift economy, right? They need dollars, money, right? Fiat. Um, so now that you have had years of wisdom doing this, like what would you say to um, past you, or uh, somebody who might be
So,
thinking this?
I mean, this will maybe sound odd, but I feel like at that point in my life, I had already done a good amount of inner work to really have a conversation with my soul. And that's what I ended up essentially doing, was asking my soul, what is the right thing to do here? What is correct in this moment? And the answer was loud and clear. You do this. You go off on your own. You don't go back to a W-2 job, and you'll be taken care of. It will work out. It is fine. Trust that it will work. And so it was a decision that was made on a very deep level. It wasn't just my mind thinking, well, what if, and because you can get so tangled up and lost in what ifs. Okay, the anxiety, the fear, um, can really just keep you stuck in something that you would otherwise be able to transcend.
Yeah, and I think it's also encouraging to see folks that are living off of the gift economy to know that like this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful that you're an example of that. I think another question that is a little similar to kind of what you just mentioned, like what, because to me there is like a consciousness shift, right? It, in approaching gift economy. So what would you consider like key consciousness shifts that maybe would help orient folks to maybe jump into a gift economy with a little less fear, I guess?
Well, so I mean, what comes up for me as you ask the question is, what is that fear? The fear is not enough. The fear is scarcity. And so you can approach that a couple of ways. One is um, just having trust that you're going to be taken care of, okay, that there's going to be enough. But another key aspect of that is, what is enough? Trying to do the work to ask, what do I need? not necessarily what I want, because I'm not trying to tell you you're going to get everything you want. You're not going to get the Lamborghini in the driveway necessarily. But what does it take? You need the ability to move around. You need transportation. Okay. Does the current paradigm of borrowing money from a bank to buy a car that you're going to have to sell in a few years, or that's going to break, is that is that your only choice there? Are there other choices? For many years, not now, but because I have family, but for many years I didn't have a car, and I would do bus or bicycle or taxi or something like that in order to get around. So I think questioning, what do I need? What is enough? And making sure that you uh, feel comfortable that you will have enough no matter what, even if it's not what you want, that you'll have what you need. And so I think that's a big part of the decision making process that will help put that fear of scarcity aside, and let you carry on, is to know what is enough, and do I have other ways other than money to get what I need, to get enough.
Yeah, what comes up for me when you share that is um like a reevaluation of life design and values design, perhaps. Coming back to your values and what's truly important. I feel like, you know, in America, um, maybe we've created a lot of people have created a life design that makes it so that we have to keep depending on these systems to survive. Like we have to.
We focus on the phantom wealth, we focus on the money and stuff like that, and like I said a few minutes ago, that's phantom. That can go away in a heartbeat. This money system can collapse. I don't know if people know this, but the US dollar that we're talking about today is the eighth money system America's had in its lifetime. So it can go away, and it can be because it's phantom. There's nothing real behind it. There's nothing supporting it other than trust. If enough people remove their trust and put their trust on real wealth, healthy communities, relationships, and nature, we'll build it, and they will come. We'll build that culture where we take care of each other instead of fighting each other. We'll build that culture of abundance because we know the community will be behind us. We don't need a retirement plan, because when we get old, there's going to be people that'll take care of us. There'll be people that will support us. I see. So we haven't talked about this too much. My wife is Thai, and I spend a lot of time in Thailand, months in Thailand a year. And they don't have assisted living facilities in Thailand. The family takes care of their family. And so when the people get old and can't farm anymore, can't work anymore, the family takes care of them. In our particular case, we have a neighbor, a next door neighbor, who can't get out of her house. She's in her 80s. Every night, the family puts together a plate of food and takes it around the fence and hands it to her through the doorway. They take care of each other. They don't have a lot of money. They are a very poor country, but they take care of each other. And that's the community piece, helping to take care of people. We've lost sight of that. We often don't even know the names of the people who live next door to us here in America. And so we've lost sight of what it means to be a community as opposed to individuals. And I think it's partly because we're told we have to be responsible for ourselves. You have to have the money for your retirement because the government shouldn't have to help you. And here's Social Security, but that was never meant to be your retirement. That was supposed to augment what you already had. That's all about the money system. That can go away in a heartbeat. What can't go away is the relationships in the community that you surround yourself with, as long as you have healthy interactions with those neighbors and community.
Yeah. Yeah. There's two things that are coming up for me that I would love to dive into. One is like um really getting into like, yeah, what is true wealth? Um, and then also really looking at being really honest about our current economic system and where we're at and what the future could hold, and how, some of these alternative economies, like a gift economy, could be really good things to start building now. Um, so yeah, those were kind of the two directions that I would love to dive into.
So in when I have this, when I write about this kind of thing, I tend not to use the word economy. I tend to use the word ecology, a gift ecology, and that comes from, my understanding of the word economy is more like the money and the trading of money instead of care. And so I think of ecology, like what is the ecosystem in which we are relating and sharing our gifts and talents. And so, yeah, I would say, I think if we think of it in terms of ecology and not an economy, I think that helps to point towards, what's true wealth. Because um, I can't say this enough. The economic system we have today is smoke and mirrors. There was a book that came out recently, The Great Taking, and it talks about how we don't own anything. And even if you pay cash for your home, you still have to pay property tax to the government to be able to keep it. And so you don't really own it. It's like the government owns it. And even if you paid cash for a car, if that dealer used his inventory as collateral for a loan and he defaults on the loan and your car was in that inventory, you lose your car. All of these rules have been set up over the years to benefit the people who have rather than the people who need. And so the whole economic system is rotten. The whole rehypothecation, they have 1 ounce of gold and they sell a piece of paper to 100 people saying you have rights to this ounce of gold. They That's impossible. You can't take 1 ounce of gold and give it to 100 people. So it's just so many ways this economy is bogus, so many ways this economy is fake, and so many ways this economy will at some point come down around our ears. And when that happens, can't say when, but when it does, what is going to get us through? What does it look like on the other side? What gets us through, what it looks like on the other side is we will be local. We will be taking care of each other. It will be our community, our neighbors, and ourselves. And we will be stuck with what's in the nature around us. And so maybe we need to get rid of all the lawns, all of the grass, and grow food in our front yard, in our backyard, on top of the roof. We should be growing food everywhere we possibly can. And, even in the middle of a big urban city here, there are people that have fruit and vegetables in their front yard, and people walk by and reach over and take a tomato or reach over and pick a lemon. And that should be normal. That should be okay. That should be not a problem, in my opinion, because that's part of taking care of each other. I have more lemons on this tree than I can possibly use before they spoil. So of course I want to share and let people have some of my abundance. And maybe this year they're growing green beans and they grow so many they give me some. That's how the community and relationships can help keep us abundant and keep us healthy and growing, as opposed to I need my neighbor to help me pay rent. Now, I think I was only answering one of your questions.
I think you answered them both, and they were kind of in different directions, but you did a really good job weaving them together.
Okay.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm curious about your perspectives on what's happening now. I mean, you said you're like, I don't really know when that will happen, but um, do you, what do you think about the current events, global events in our economy or financial system or where we're heading?
I don't know if you're familiar with the book The Fourth Turning that came out about 20 years ago. So the book was positing this idea that there are 4 stages for every culture. And you can I think of it as 4 stages for every economy too. And stage number 1 is it's brand new. And so creativity abounds. There's all kinds of things are started. Some will work, some won't. Everybody's being creative and starting new stuff. The stage 2 is we start to do that weeding out. So, okay, that doesn't work. That stops. This company can't make money. It goes away. And by the end of the second stage, you're at the peak of that economy and culture, and everything is just humming along wonderfully. Stage 3, the cracks start to appear. The predicaments start to presence. The things that can't continue forever start to become obvious. And stage 4, the fourth turning, stage 4 is when it all has to come down to level to scrape the plane so that the next first turning can start anew. And the book says each turning is about 20 years. And so you've got an 80-year cycle. And if you think of America really started just out about 1782, 1783, something like that. It wasn't the independence 1776. It was when the country was founded. We had an election. We picked a president. 1782, roughly. Go 80 years forward, and you've got 1865. Okay, the end of the Civil War. I would say 1860 America, 1870 America, totally different country and culture and economy, right? And so the end of the first set of turnings, the first fourth turning, brought down the original economy and culture. 1865 plus 80 years is 1945. I will argue that 1940 America and 1950 America, totally different economy and culture, right? 1945, go forward 80 years and you are 2025, right? So America in 2020, America in 2030, my expectation is it's going to be a completely different economy and culture. And I kind of point to it called end of empire. The last 80 years, the American empire has been dominant globally. That won't continue forever. What does it look like when empire collapses? We are in the belly of the beast. We are in the heart of the empire. It is coming down around our heads. And so this is probably the best time to be alive, because we have the chance to be able to envision what comes next and start to build that and have it ready when we need it, because we're going to need it pretty soon. And that means, yes, the economy, the money, all of this stuff has to change, and it has to change fairly soon, because that's how this thing goes. And so,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's a cool perspective.
Mm,
Did not consider that.
mm.
Thank you. Um, so, gosh, I was going to ask something, then it flew out of my brain. Cass, is there something coming up to you?
No, I think I just wanted to add that I think that these conversations are right on time, and I'm excited because I mean, and I'm sure Derek, you've been looking at gift economies and stuff for a while, but I feel like, and I'm curious what you think. I feel like within the last couple of years, there's more people that are open to this, and I feel like the culture is craving this now compared to like maybe a decade ago. Um, and which also to me cues in that, this fourth turning is certainly happening, even though to me it's fairly obvious. But I'm excited because people are uh, the culture's craving this information.
Well, I think first of all, let me say things are really hard right now. Okay. And we talk about divide and conquer as being the oldest trick in the book to keep people dominated and exploited. And what have we seen over the last decade with social media and stuff? We are more divided now than ever before. Healthy relationships are difficult. more difficult than ever because so many relationships are just virtual and not in real life, so to speak. And so, it is great that we have an internet that allows us to have this conversation from all over the world. I could just as easily be in Thailand right now and you wouldn't know the difference. So that's wonderful. It's got great potential, but it can be and has been in many cases used to build the fear and build the hate rather than support the community and engender taking care of each other. And so how do we bridge that gap? How do we overcome what what the internet has done to shatter the community? It means putting down the phone and actually having a conversation with someone you totally disagree with. We've lost the ability, in my opinion, to have difficult conversations. Um, and I think in part that's because you don't have to on the internet. You can pick and choose which rooms you occupy or which spaces you take up space in and not have the difficult conversation. It used to be Saturday night down at the Grange, they would have a musicians playing and people would come and have conversations with all branches, all types of perspectives. And you had to get along with your neighbor because you needed them next harvest season to come help you get the corn in. And so you had to maintain those relationships to some degree. We've lost that now. We don't need that because we can have a community of people all over the world that all think like we do. And that echo chamber makes us feel like we're connected. I don't think it does. And so this is another one where when the empire comes down, what if the technology fails? What if the internet breaks down? Um, would we know how to accommodate um, that catastrophe? And what can we do today to be prepared for no internet? Because I don't think that's necessarily coming, but I think it's a good tool to use when you're thinking about this. What would I do if I had no more internet?
Yeah. I was just thinking about this with my husband the other day. I was like, what if the electrical grid went down? I mean, the internet wouldn't be there, right? Um, Among other things, we'd have a lot of challenges there. Um, wow, thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing I've been thinking of too is like hearing some of the catastrophes, the natural disasters that we've had recently in in the US. There have been, while, it's been horrifying, there have been some really beautiful stories that have come out of there. And so, I don't know, I guess on some end that makes me a little hopeful that, in this
Yes,
collapse, it will force us to come
absolutely.
together.
So this brings up a lot for me because my other job, I do have two jobs.
Mhm.
My other job is I'm an on-call employee with FEMA. And so I'm in the cadre. There are 23 cadres in FEMA, all of which do different things. Our cadre, Disaster Survivor Assistance, we are the boots on the ground. We are the people. If you have a hurricane, you get a disaster declaration for individual assistance. We're the people you'll see. And going door to door, trying to get people registered, all that kind of thing. Explaining the process, getting money from the government is neither quick nor easy. But this is another aspect of my life that emphasizes more than necessary the real healing after a disaster is not money from FEMA. The real healing is neighbor helping neighbor. The very first time I went out with FEMA, 2004, Hurricane Ivan, I was in Atmore, Alabama. Atmore population maybe 8,000, something like that. The entire electrical grid was down. They had to come in and plant new poles and string new wire to get that thing up. That town would have died, except there was a church in Tennessee that for the first 6 weeks after the storm sent down 2 tractor trailers full of food, clothes, water, tents, all that kind of stuff. They were taking up a collection in Tennessee and sending it to this one particular town in Alabama. That was the only thing that kept that town alive. And that was just a good example of neighbor helping neighbor. They weren't even neighbors necessarily, although I would say they are, because, we're all neighbors. We're all related to all of the life on this planet. And so, but there again, it's neighbor helping neighbor. That's one community helping another community. And that's where the healing takes place. It's not about money. It's about how do we provide what others need, despite money. And so there again, that's you mentioned there are nice stories that come out of these things. All of these disasters, natural, bring out the best in some people. Not all. There are people that take advantage. There are people that scam and everything else, on both sides of that coin. But it gives us a chance to really see, what people are made of. What are they really? What are you in the dark? Who are you in the dark? When you think you can get away with something, what do you do? And so we see the best in people. We see the worst in people. But for me, seeing the best in people gives me hope, because even if things really go bad. And the other thing, as we see these disasters take place, um, almost never do these communities get back to the way they were before. And again, it's part of scraping the plane and letting you start over. To some degree, it's difficult within this economy to do it 100%, but to some degree, it does open the eyes of the people in that community that they can take care of each other, right? It gives them the courage to go off and do more of this even after the recovery, because you see that it can be done and it feels good. It's great to get help from my neighbor. It's great to give help to my neighbor. And so having these experiences is a good way to taste what it looks like to build that healthy community, and makes some people want to do more.
Fantastic. Thank you. We did have a question from one of our listeners
Okay.
here.
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead. Go
bring
ahead.
her on.
Yep.
Hi, Derek.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Me and Derek kind of know each other a little bit.
Mhm.
Loving this conversation. So, I work with a lot of clients. I'm a financial planner, and I espouse the similar perspective as you, and I try and urge them into like a frequency of abundance. But I face a lot of like the fears and the reluctance and the distrust. And also too within myself, like I try and find my own boundaries and stuff with giving and all that stuff. And like, um, so my question is, what do you do if you don't feel like giving? Whether that be from fear or distrust or even like resentment or maybe like entitlement, or just like exhaustion or something, because like I mean, especially as a woman too, I think I've been like socially conditioned to probably give beyond like my limits. And so I'm just curious how you find those like boundaries and how you navigate that, maybe discomfort or resistance at times to giving.
Baby steps.
Mhm.
Baby steps. Do one thing.
Yeah.
One thing that feels comfortable, one thing that you can afford to give away, one thing you can afford to do for free, and see what happens. Just sit back and watch to see. Does that relationship get stronger? Does the universe fill that vacuum? What happens after you do that one thing? And then maybe you'll see, oh, here's another thing I can do that won't cost me anything. I'm not giving up anything to do this. What was I going to do? Scroll through Twitter for the next 30 minutes? Instead, I'll spend 30 minutes talking to this person for free. Just whatever it does, it doesn't cost you anything. And then sit back and watch and see what happens.
That's good. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Katie. So we have about 9 minutes left, and Cass, feel free to pipe in, but I'm curious, like, if anybody in our group is thinking about doing this in their own firm, in their own accounting firm, what advice would you give them to get started? Or like, if they're coming from a very traditional background,
Sure.
Like, what are some steps? Yeah.
Well, let me say that, you know, having done this, I have received feedback from some of my tax clients that they tend to be healers, and they tend to say, I mean, I have a couple who just say, "Oh my goodness, this has transformed my life. I have now this is the only way I do my chiropractic business," something like that. Um, but a lot of them come back and say, "Hey, this has inspired me to do a sliding scale." And so I actually set up a sliding scale. Like, if you know your annual income is this, then you pay me this. If it is this much higher, then you pay me more. Or in some cases, just pay me what you think it's worth. You know, and that's what Charles does on his work and his stuff. He says, okay, just give me what you think it's worth. Watch it and give me something back. Sometimes he has said, okay, it's $100 to watch to do this program. But if at the end of the program you don't think it's worth $100, I'll refund your money. If you think it was worth more, give me more. You know, so sliding scale, I think, would be the first thing I would come up with is figure out how you can do a sliding scale for your work. And again, I think you'll be surprised at how people react, and and how things come into your life, not from the people you're working with, but from other sources that you couldn't have even imagined.
Mm. Yes, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool resources on sliding scale that doesn't only go by income, but also just by, I don't know, if you have health insurance, or you're like you own a car, or you own multiple properties or something like that, right? Because not everybody necessarily has income, right? But they might have other uh, privileges and
Mm-hmm.
wealth
Mm-hmm.
aspects. So yeah, cool.
I think
Mm-hmm.
what you said about the baby steps, also with your response to Katie, I feel like that could be helpful here as well. And I'm just relating this to my experience because I do my own tax practice on a gift basis, but I do have a contract, a separate contract, that is hourly, and that so for me, I'm like, I haven't fully jumped into the gift economy, the trust of the gift economy, but um, you know, baby steps. And so for me, that feels comfortable to at least be able to trust and to like let go of that one piece, because I at least know that there's this other stuff coming in. So for me, for now, that works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I had a question. I'm wondering, because I think gift economies are amazing, and the sometimes the synchronicity and the fun surprises that come in are really exciting. And I'm wondering what's a really fun or exciting gift that's come in for you that I don't know, really lit up your world and kind of just put some extra sparkles on this gift economy practice.
Well, I I don't really want to point to one particular thing. You said something there about synchronicity, and I just want to dive into that for a moment. So for over a decade, I have been trying, well, it started in 2012. It started in the FEMA response to Sandy. And I really came away from that experience um, realizing or acknowledging that the universe put me where it put me for a particular reason. That it was not an accident that I ended up where I was in the FEMA response to Sandy. And so, okay, synchronicity. So let's start to be grateful for coincidence. Let's start to be grateful for synchronicity. And as I proceeded from that point to try to spot and identify and name, this is a synchronicity I'm grateful for. Now I'm at a point where, let's say I need to meet a friend at a particular place. I've never driven there before. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Um, I don't know when to leave home to get to that meeting. I will just be kind of processing. Okay, I need to go soon. I need to go soon. And at a certain point, I get just a little tingle in my chest, right behind my sternum. And that tells me it's time to go. And I'll go out and get in the car and drive, and I'll get there right on time. Okay. If I were to use the maps, maybe it would tell me differently. But even in cases where there's backup traffic on the road, I still get there on time. And so what I'm trying to point to here is, we get what we focus on. So let's focus on abundance. Let's focus on taking care of each other. And how can I take care of someone in this situation? And as we continue, and let's be grateful for when it works out. And the more you're grateful for when it works out, the more you'll see things to be grateful for. And the more you see the synchronicities, the more synchronicities will happen, or you'll see. And so I think gratitude holds a very deep aspect of this gift economy or gift ecology, is being grateful for what you get and not just assuming it's yours by right and you're entitled.
Mm. What you appreciate appreciates.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Derek. So as we wrap up here, we're curious, how can people contact you if they want to connect, and are you taking any more clients?
Yes. And so I will the chat be available after when you do the recording?
The chat, probably not. Why?
Okay. Well, because my website is esoterics.com, which is
Uh-huh.
kind of hard to remember.
Oh, we'll put that in we'll put this on YouTube, and there will be a link at the bottom. So,
It's about okay. So
mhm.
that there is a contact me form or contact me link
Oh,
on the
perfect.
website. And
I'll
yes,
put it in the chat though.
I was gifted with a website that I think is totally amazing. So I
It's a
encourage you,
beautiful
even if
website.
you don't have any intention of working with me, please take a look at the website because it is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome. All right,
This was
people.
a beautiful
Thank you
conversation.
all.
Thank you
Thank
to
you all.
everybody who came live, and anybody who's watching the replay. Thank you. Cass, any ending words, or Derek, or
I'll just say
no?
thank you.
Yeah, thanks. This was a wonderful conversation.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks, Derek.
Bye-bye.
Bye.